try and reach 70 to 80 kilometers per hour to hit this recovery track to see if it survives. And this is a recovery track that's going to be buried half in the sand. This is a new MAXTRAX LITE. Lighter, cheaper, getting out of the way. Did it survive? In today's video, we're taking product testing to the next level. I think some might call that torture. The original MAXTRAX Extremes, MAXTRAX Lites. Light? Say what? What are the MAXTRAX Lites? Shorter, lighter, weaker, cheaper. Supposed to be the more affordable option. They're made for lighter vehicles. Are they any good? We'll find out very soon. Had the original for like 15 years. 6 MAXTRAX should do the job. These, about 3 years. I have lost a few teeth. There are some stories behind that. These are actually the survivors from the test video where we tested all different kinds of tracks. Some were cracking, some were bending, some turned back into their normal shape. Let's find out what these are like. Before we seek to actively destroy these tracks by stress testing them, let's see if they actually work as well as the OG MAXTRAX MK2s. I have my slight doubts. It's almost a foot shorter than its cousins. Is it longer than a mini MAXTRAX? They might look like a mini compared to this. These are much bigger than the minis, almost 900mm long. Are these as good as these two? Let's find out. As mentioned earlier, they're designed for lighter vehicles. So to work our way up to the big heavy Land Cruisers, which they're not designed for, we're going to do it anyway, I've got the old boys Jeeping. Okay, stop there. Finally got the Jeep bogged on a reasonable circumstance. We'll try just on the back wheels, see if the boards work. Should have cleared out the front wheels, but we haven't. Standard basic recovery. You can hear the lugs gripping onto it. You hear that. They got sucked under and lifted the vehicle up. Slight new little melties there that got the Jeep out. The Jeep's about 2.1, 2.2 tonne. We tested multiple times to make sure, and we spun the wheels on the tyres. Let's try some muddies. 35s, troopy. So I'm bogged in low range. I'm diffed out on the rear. The front I haven't cleared. I'm gonna try and get out without doing that. If I don't get out, then I'll clear the front and try again. Yeah, the hardest thing about today is just getting bogged.
Should have bought a Jeep.
I'm sorry, what's that? I can't hear ya. This bogging stuff's hard work. I wasn't very convinced. This beach wasn't all that soft either. So over the next 3 days, we grabbed a 79 series on a softer beach. Three attempts to get out, but they got me out in the end. And that's why I don't think they're suited for heavier vehicles. And the tracks, they're not as long, right? The MK2 and the Extremes, the length of those really gives a heavier vehicle more of a footprint to get going and get started. And that's why I'm saying those lights are not for heavy vehicles and not for big tyres. And if you can afford big tyres, surely you can afford the proper MAXTRAX. But they're much easier to retrieve, I'll say that. In total, we did 10 recoveries across all different vehicles. But what got really interesting was when we put the FJ in there. Having smaller tyres made a difference. So there we go. Textbook, straighten up. Stop, stop. And he's out. Bloody wind. I think we've done like 10 recoveries with this. The teeth are a little bit off on this one. A few hot spots, I should say. Nice, smooth and polished actually. But look at the condition of these. After so many recoveries, we've left the beach behind. We're now stress testing these MAXTRAX Lites on some rock, full tyre pressure, and we are seeking how far we can push this with a 3.5 tonne vehicle. That is asking a lot. 2 fist gut. Yeah, I'm really surprised. We just had a conversation off camera. How are we going to actually give these more of a stress test than that? These are bloody impressive. I know other tracks that would have cracked just by simply doing what we just done there. I still wouldn't recommend it for a big car like that though. What the heck are we doing now? Well, will the MAXTRAX LITE defeat us, or will we defeat the MAXTRAX LITE? We're burying it halfway in the sand. We're now going to forcefully make it bend 90 degrees to what it's meant to do. This is not how you're meant to treat a board. I understand that, but I've done this to boards in the past. Not many survived. So let's see what happens. I don't expect this to survive. Rest in peace, Mr. Light. Your time is numbered. Here we go. Whoa. What? Back wheels are coming. Wow. It's actually straightened the board out. That is fantastic. Enough mucking around, let's hit this thing at high speed. I'm going to try and reach 70 to 80 kilometers per hour to hit this recovery track and see if it survives. Getting out of the way. Did it survive? We hit it numerous times, 5 or 6 times, even hit it the opposite way. Used, abused, tortured over 4 days of testing on these boards, all different kinds of vehicles. We've proven they work, we've proven they're indestructible to a point, but is this the board for you? Not necessarily. There are 4 different types of boards, and they're all made for different purposes. Confusing, right? You're in luck. I'm about to make this a lot clearer. If budget is your main concern, then you will likely be looking at the lights. If you have a heavy vehicle, however, I would consider spending that little bit more and getting the regular MAXTRAX. If you're worried about weight on your vehicle, the lights again will come in handy because they're only 1.8 kilos. MK2s are 3.5 kilos. The MAXTRAX LITE is almost half the weight of the regular MAXTRAX. They're also shorter, so they will fit into smaller cars a lot easier. Breaking this down even further, MAXTRAX Minis are designed for ATVs. I use one as a handbrake. I would not use this for a big car. I wouldn't use it for any four-wheel drive really, apart from an ATV, although you see many Jimnys getting around with this. But considering the fact that this is almost the same price as this, it's longer, more footprint to drive your little car on, smaller tires. Stock vehicle, smaller four-wheel drives, Suzuki, Jimny, two-door Jeep, they don't stack. The pins don't line up either, which means you're either committed to this or this. You can't really have both. You got to put them in different places. MK2 is the OG. This is for any vehicle that's light, mid-weight, heavy. It's for the enthusiast that goes out quite regularly. For the person who just four-wheel drives every now and then, one pair will do. If you're a four-wheel driver that likes to go to some remote beaches, remote driving in the desert, I would say having two pairs is pretty handy. You can get out of most situations with one pair. If you're towing, having three pairs definitely helps, but we're talking up there in dollars already. The MAXTRAX Extreme is resistant to wheel spin to a point. You can rip some of the teeth out, you can replace them. The price, this is where most people overlook these. Nearly $500. Honestly, unless fully dedicated, full driving a lot of the time and you have the budget to spend, if you don't have the budget to spend, doesn't matter what, MK2s. If you have the budget to spend to start with and you want something that's never going to let you down, then I would suggest the Extremes. 4.5 kilos. When you have 4 of these on your roof, it adds up almost 20 kilos. My conclusion, my opinion, if I'm going to recommend a board to anyone, it's the OG board because it's longer. We already covered all that, but that's what I'll recommend. Of course, if you're on a budget, you've got a small vehicle, you don't four-wheel drive very often, that is what the Lite is for. I think that's the message I wanted to get across at the end of the day. You know, the extreme boards are not necessary unless you are the type of person who's really into it, and if you are, you wouldn't need me to tell you this. So this is the best board. If you're on a budget, lights. What do you think? Which board actually suits you? And are you impressed with how the lights went? I mean, we absolutely abused the crap out of this particular board. I reckon that deserves to be hung on the wall somewhere.